The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, it's Steve Jones here at Bluebeam. Thanks for joining us this morning to learn about what's new in Revu 2017. So we had a new release just a couple weeks ago with Revu 2017. We have lots of cool stuff in there, and I'm just going to be kind of talking through what's new, doing a little bit of live demo so you can see it in action, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end for some open Q&A, and you can ask me questions as well. Before I get too far along here, I just want to make sure that my audio is okay. Could you all please just type in the chat window or the question window, just let me know that you're hearing me okay? All right, looks like we're sounding good. Excellent, thank you, appreciate that. So we'll just keep on rolling here. First and foremost, I want to give a big thank you to our platinum partner, CAD-1, for hosting this webinar. CAD-1, and they're an awesome partner of ours. Love working with them, and just want to thank them for hosting this and spreading the word and inviting all of you to this call today. So thanks, guys. And with that, actually, let me introduce myself briefly. So my name is Steve Jones. I'm the Channel Sales Manager here at Bluebeam. So my team on the channel side, we work with our network of partners, such as CAD-1. So it's a lot of fun to partner up with those guys and help spread the word of Bluebeam. So without further ado, let's talk about Bluebeam as a company briefly, and we'll kind of segue into our products and what's new in this release. So Bluebeam is a company, we've been around for 15 plus years now, and we really are built from the bottom up for AEC professionals and those in sort of technical industries. And you can see the metrics on the screen there as far as customers here in the US that are using us today. So have very good kind of presence in the market. And these sort of customers, AEC customers, and you guys on the phone, we really build our products for you. It's designed for you. Most of these features that we implement each release come specifically from customer requests. So we appreciate all of your feedback in helping us make our releases better each year. So Bluebeam is the company. Revu is the name of our desktop PDF solution, and it really is designed to be an end-to-end workflow solution. So wherever you are in the project lifecycle, whether you're kind of in the beginning stages, going through design review, or in the closing stages, doing a closeout and punch and facilities management and so forth, you can really utilize Revu every step along the way in this process. And then embedded within Revu, we have a cloud collaboration platform called Studio, which is completely free. If you own a seat of Revu, you already have access to Studio. It's no additional charge, no subscription. You can access it right within Revu. It allows you to upload your files into the cloud and share them with anyone, anywhere, anytime, regardless of whether they own Bluebeam Revu or not. They can still access it and still collaborate and participate. So a super powerful collaboration platform there. So I mentioned before that really Revu is designed to be applicable across all stages of the project lifecycle, allowing you to kind of work in a common data environment every step along the way. And you can see kind of examples of some of the different project stages on the screen. Today we're going to be focusing particularly heavy on quantity takeoffs. So this release for 2017, a lot of the features are specifically geared towards quantity takeoffs and estimation. But that being said, there's also some other features that are applicable to other workflows as well, and existing features that we've improved upon, and I'll hit on those as well. So here at Bluebeam, we really have a focus on workflow. So we're not typically designing for features per se. We're really designing around workflows. What is the actual real world work that customers are doing in the world? What challenges are they facing? And we kind of develop around that concept. So the big focuses, as I said before, this year were around the quantity takeoff workflows. And then also there were some additional workflows around automation and improved visualization that I'll hit on as well. So in terms of the quantity takeoffs, the new features around that particular workflow, I'll just talk to them briefly and then I'll show you them in action. Firstly, dynamic fill. Without kind of giving away the big reveal too much, dynamic fill allows you to drastically speed up the process of taking measurements for area and perimeter and volume, which is a very common process when you're talking about takeoffs. It makes that process much, much faster. Quantity link, which is a Revu Extreme specific feature, allows you to essentially live sync your markup data to Excel. We understand that a lot of customers are utilizing Excel to calculate their takeoff costs, and so this allows you to create a live link between your drawing and your Excel document, and I'll show you that one as well. We have lots of various enhancements around measurement tools and count tools that are very useful too. And then outside of takeoffs, in the realm of automation and visualization, some of the new features we have are automatic form creation, which is another Revu Extreme feature. This allows you to automatically generate fillable PDF forms rather than having to place those form fields manually. Batch sign and seal is another Revu Extreme feature. It allows you to digitally sign and or stamp large quantities of PDFs in one automated process. So if you're an architect and a new batch of drawings comes your way and you need to sign all of them in one shot, now you can do it in just one batch automated process. 360-degree photos. So a couple of years back, we introduced a feature called Capture, which allows you to embed images and videos within markups on your drawing. This was particularly useful for documenting site conditions. We've taken that one step further by introducing support for 360-degree photos as well. And then lastly, we have lots of enhancements around 3D PDFs. So if you're using 3D PDFs, you're going to be able to have more control over your metadata, being able to change metadata, being able to search for specific elements, changing the coloration of certain elements as well. And I'll show you how that works very shortly here. Okay, so with that, I really want to spend the bulk of our time doing the live demo so you can see it in action. Before I jump into that, I'm just going to check the questions window, just make sure that we're not having any problems with the audio. It looks like we're good. Okay. All right, we're good to go. Okay then, so with that, I'm going to exit out of PowerPoint and just jump over to Revu here. So let's focus on some of those takeoff features first. And before we start jumping into takeoffs, I just want to share some best practices that we see some of our other customers in the market doing, and maybe give you all some ideas for things that you can implement on your own processes. So firstly, something really cool that I want to show you on this particular sample drawing is you'll notice that we actually have a profile which has been embedded right onto this PDF as a file attachment. So for those on the phone that are maybe not familiar with profiles, profiles allow you to kind of save essentially presets for your tools that you have toggled on, the layout of the tools, as well as the tool sets and your tool chest. So it's a great way to define different presets for different workflows. Also, it's a great way to standardize across your organization. If you want to have all your users kind of having the same sort of interface and the same tools as they're working. So by embedding it right in this file, all that anybody who gets this drawing, all they have to do to get this profile is just double click on it and then just open it up. In my case, I cheated, so I actually loaded in this advanced materials profile ahead of time, and I've already switched over to this profile, so I've got it preloaded in there. And you'll notice with that, if I look at my tool chest here, I have a whole bunch of different materials takeoff tools that I've already populated into this profile. And additionally, I also have some custom columns down here in the markups list. So if I go to Manage Columns and go to Custom Columns, I've actually got two of them set up. The first one is a material type, and this is a choice. And by choice, it means essentially like a pick list or a drop-down box. If I hit Modify, I can see all the options that I've populated in there. So these are the different types of materials, and where it says number, these are the costs. So that may be a square footage cost, it could be a linear foot cost, it could be per count, whatever the applicable sort of cost assignment is, it's going to populate it in there. And then additionally, I've got a material cost column that's a formula. And this is essentially saying take your measurement, multiply it by that per unit cost from the prior column, and this is going to keep a running subtotal of your cost for that particular type of material. So these are two columns that I had already kind of set up ahead of time, and this is a really common sort of practice that we see our customers doing with takeoffs. Okay, so another thing that I want to share as a best practice when doing takeoffs is calibrating your drawing. It's really, really important to make sure that your drawing is properly calibrated so that your measurements will be accurate. And the way that you do that is you want to find a known distance. So in this case, I know that between these 2 points is 6 feet 5 inches, and then I can use that to calibrate. So if I go to Measure and Calibrate, it's going to say select 2 points to calibrate. So I'm just going to click between these 2 points, and then I just need to input what the length is. So I'm going to say this is 6 feet 5 inches. So something that's new that I want to point out to you guys is this checkbox that says Apply Scale to All Pages. So in previous versions of Revu, whenever you calibrated a PDF, it would only calibrate for that specific page that you were on, which meant that if you had a multi-page PDF that was not calibrated, you would have to go through and calibrate each individual page individually, which is not the most appealing thing to do. And so now you have this option to apply that scale to all of the pages if you would like. Okay, so I just calibrated my drawing, and let's make sure that it was calibrated correctly. I'm going to just take a length measurement, and something interesting you'll note is, so since I know I want a straight line between these 2 points, an easy way to do that is if I hold down the Shift key, it's going to lock me into 45-degree increments, so I can make sure that I have a straight line. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and then just click between these 2 points, and you can see that that is indeed 6 feet 5 inches. So I can tell that my measurement is accurate there. Okay, so now that our drawing is calibrated, something else that I would really encourage you to do if you're doing takeoffs is to utilize a feature called Legends. And Legends is a fairly new feature. We introduced it last year, so I think a lot of folks aren't aware that it exists. But it's super helpful, showing right on your drawing what all of these markups actually mean and what the current totals of them are. So you'll see once I start placing markups, it'll more clearly illustrate what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and drop a legend on there. And the way that I'm going to do this is from the tool set. So I go to this Advanced Materials Takeoff tool set, click the gear wheel, and I'm going to create a legend out of it and drop that right onto my drawing. So it kind of defaulted to the description, quantity, and unit columns, but if I wanted additional information, let's say I want to show my label as well, I can just go to Edit Columns, and let's turn on the label. There it is. Let's turn on the label as well. So this is not very interesting to look at because I don't have any markups on there yet. So let's just drop that there, and we'll circle back to this later when it's got more going on, more stuff to look at. Okay, so now let's start talking about new features. And the first one that I'm going to tackle is dynamic fill. So firstly, let's talk about using these restrooms as an example. Let's talk about how historically you would take area or perimeter measurements. So in the past, if I wanted to take an area measurement for this men's room right here so that I could calculate tile flooring cost as an example, the way that I would have done that is take my area measurement tool, click around the perimeter of the room, and I can see that that's 48 square feet. So certainly it's a tremendous improvement over trying to do this manually on paper, but still not as easy as it could be. So let's use dynamic fill for this instead. So dynamic fill is right here in the measurement tab, and I'm going to turn it on. And I personally like to describe the dynamic fill as sort of like a paint bucket tool. If you've ever used sort of graphical programs that have a paint bucket tool, it's the same concept. In fact, the little icon for dynamic fill is a paint bucket as well, which is very appropriate. But before I can use my paint bucket to fill in this room, I just need to kind of seal off the boundaries. So I have this open door right here. I need to seal off that door so the paint bucket tool knows the boundaries of this room. So firstly, I'm going to add boundary. And let's actually just do both of these restrooms in one shot. So I'm going to draw the boundary, and I can use that shift key trick to lock myself into a straight line. And I just sealed off the boundary of that room. And now that I've done that, I can switch to the paint bucket, and I'm just going to click and hold my left mouse button. And as I do that, it's just going to fill in this room right here. So I have a couple of extra spots I just need to hit with that. Let's see if I got everything. I missed a spot, it looks like. For those of you wondering if you can adjust the size of this, this cursor, you absolutely can. That's right in the settings up here for dynamic fill. So you can make it smaller, bigger. You can also make it fill in faster or slower so that you have full control over that. But let me finish filling in this room here. Okay. All right, so I just filled in these two restrooms. So now what can we do with it? Well, we can create a number of different things from that. So firstly, I can create spaces. So let's go ahead and create a space, and we're going to name this space as restroom. If I can learn how to spell. There we go, restroom. And then you can also do a polygon markup. For this particular example, we don't really need to do that, but area measurement is very useful, so let's do that. And we can take it one step further by not just doing a generic area measurement. Let's actually use one of those custom markup tools that we already created that have that material cost already assigned to it. So I'm going to say this is tile type 1. You can do a poly length measurement, which we'll touch on that later. Perimeter measurement, this is also helpful. Let's go with a tile base for the perimeter. And then you can also do a volume measurement. In this particular example, we don't need to do that, so we'll skip that one. Once you've toggled on all of the things you'd like to create, all you have to do is just hit apply. It's going to take a couple seconds, and it essentially created 3 different things. So firstly, it created spaces. So if I go to my space tab, you can see here that it created restroom spaces there. And then also it created perimeter measurements and area measurements. So if I look down here at the bottom, here's those tile-based perimeter measurements, and you can see the material costs being populated in there. And here's that tile type 1 area measurement, which is also being calculated in there. If you wanted to actually show the measurements on the drawing, it's quite easy to turn that on. All you do is just select those markups, go to the properties, and there's a checkbox for show caption. So that's going to show the caption there. This is tile type 1 and that it's 45 square feet. Cool. So let's do this one more time so you can see a different example and we get kind of more interesting data to work with here. So I'm going to do dynamic fill for this storage room right here. And similar thing, I'm just going to seal off this storage room. And then let's fill it in. And we're going to change the name of the space, and we're going to make it storage. We're going to change the area measurement to be, let's make it carpeting. And we're going to change the perimeter to be a rubber base instead, and let's hit apply. So here we go. Same thing, created a space. It did the area measurement, and it did the perimeter measurement as well. So here's that rubber base for the perimeter. Here's the carpet for the area measurement. So tremendously faster for any folks out there that are doing takeoffs, much, much faster than the way that it used to work before. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump to the next new feature, which is polylength, and we saw a glimpse of that earlier. So polylength, you can access it right from the measurement tab here. I'm going to use these sinks as an example. So let's say that I want to measure the length of piping segments between each of these sinks. So I want the length just between two sinks, as well as the length for all of these segments as a whole. So this is where I could use polylength. So I'm just going to quickly click between all of these sinks here. And there we go. So now I've got all of these segment lengths, as well as my grand total here of 20 feet and 1 inch. If I don't want to show the grand total, if I only want to just have the segments, you can just use that show caption button again. Just unselect that, and it'll only show you the segments if you would like that. After you take this polylength measurement, if you'd like to break out the segments and have them as separate markups, because right now it's just counted as a single markup in the markups list. If I want to break this out, it's very easy to do that. All you have to do is just right-click, and I can either do split, which will only split off the particular segment that I clicked on, or I can do split all, which will split all of them. So I'm just going to do split all, and now I actually have separate individual length markups. And if I go down to the markups list, you can see them down there. But I'm just going to hit undo there and bring them all back together, and I'm going to turn my totals back on so that I can show you something else that's really cool. So a common request that we were getting from customers, particularly ones that are doing electrical, HVAC, plumbing, is accounting for rise and drop. So let's say that you have a pipe that is passing between floors and you want to account for that rise or drop. There was really no easy way to do that in prior releases, but now it's very straightforward to do that. So the way that we would do that, using this polylength as an example, is if we go to the measurements tab, right here in the measurements tab, I actually have a field for rise and drop. So I'm going to say that it's a 15-foot drop and hit enter. And you'll notice on this totals caption, it changed the total length to account for that rise and drop. And also it's documenting that rise and drop right there, so it's very easy to reference. I'm going to go ahead and just change that again so that you guys can see that update. Let's change it to a 20-foot rise and drop and watch those captions, see what happens. So it just updated the length and that rise drop accordingly. So for anybody that's wanted to account for that, really handy feature. Another thing that we've gotten a lot of requests for from customers is accounting for slope. So if you have a sloped surface, such as a roof, let's say you're calculating, roofing area, so you can estimate roofing costs. Or let's say you have like a ramp or some sort of surface with a gradient, being able to account for that. Previously, there were some folks that figured out a way of doing that utilizing formula columns in the markups list, but it was, again, kind of a challenging thing to do, not the most intuitive. So now it's much, much easier to account for slope. And to kind of demo that, let's find a sloped surface. So here we go. I've got a ramp. So ramp number 4. So this is a sloped surface. Let's apply a slope onto this. And rather than taking an area measurement the old way, I'm going to use that new feature of dynamic fill. I'm going to turn off spaces and perimeter and just do an area measurement. And I'm going to say that I want this to be concrete, say concrete 1. And I actually don't need to block off the boundaries because there's no doors or windows or anything. It's pretty well defined. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in here. And I selected my concrete 1 already, so I'm just going to hit apply. And there's concrete 1, 846 square feet. But this is not accounting for that slope yet, so let's fix that. So if I go to this measurements tab, you can see right here that I've got a field for slope, and I can do that via pitch, degree, or grade. So there's not really one that's better than the other. It just depends on your personal preference and your industry and location as to which one you would use. But for this particular example, let's just go with grade, and I'm going to give this an 8% grade. And watch this caption over here whenever I hit enter. So it's going to add that grade right on there, and it also adjusted the area accordingly. So let me change that again so you can watch that one more time. 15% grade, updated it right there. So much easier accounting for a slope. And another really cool addition that we introduced this year is regarding cutouts. So previously, if you needed to cut out an area and kind of remove it from your measurement, the only way you could do that is with polygons. But now you can also do ellipses as well. So I'm just going to say that there's a round manhole cover right here. Watch that area measurement. It's going to update and remove that round cutout from my area measurement. So giving you a little more flexibility with cutouts. Another enhancement was around using your own custom markups with count tools. So to illustrate that, let's actually use, let's go back to these sinks, and we'll use these sinks. So let's say that I wanted to search for all of the sinks of this type on this drawing set, and I want to count how many there are, and then I want to use a custom markup tool in terms of the visual aspects, and also to apply a specific material cost to this type of sinks. Let's take a look at how we would do that. Excuse me. So firstly, let's do a search, and I'm going to run a visual search for this specific sink right here. So you can see a little preview of what that sink looks like, and now I'm going to run search. You can see the percentage completion down here at the bottom. It's just going to take a few seconds to run that. So I'm going to have a little coffee while we wait here. And we've started to see our search results right here. Still running a little bit, so we'll just wait for it to complete. And done. So it looks like we had 11 hits. If I scroll through my search results, you can see the different instances that it found. You'll notice that it's smart enough to catch it even if it has a markup over that element. It's still going to catch it, and even if the sink is at different rotations, you'll notice that some of these are kind of rotated 90 degrees versus what I searched for. It still caught those. So I could select individual ones to count if I wanted to, But actually, in this particular example, I want to select all of them. So I'm going to say check all, and then now I'm going to apply a count measurement to them. And this is where we get into the new stuff. So previously, the only sort of markups you could apply to a count were these ones here that say built in. So these 5 ones were your only options for what you could do. But now you can actually use any custom count markup that you would like. So you can see these custom ones that I already set up. And I've got this sync type 1. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and apply sync type 1. So now I've got all of these markups placed onto these syncs. And additionally, if I look down at the markups list at the bottom, you'll notice that it's assigned a cost to it as well. Since I had already assigned a per unit cost, so that's sync type 1, now it's keeping a running subtotal, which is very, very handy for calculating costs with counts. So some of you on the line may be wondering, well, that's all well and good, but how did he do that? How did I even create that custom count symbol? So let's kind of walk through that process of how I even created that symbol. And let's just find a visual element that I can use as my custom symbol. Let's use this toilet. Why not? I'm a big fan of potty humor, so let's use this toilet. So this is going to be our custom count symbol right here. So I just snapshotted it, and now I have this toilet right here. Let's make it a little more interesting and change the color. So I'm going to right-click on it and change colors and say that I want to change the black to blue and say OK. So now we've got a blue toilet. So if I go to my tool chest here, you can see that blue toilet in my recent tools, and if I want, I can drag it up into my tools and save it for the future. But right now, it's not a count tool. It's just a generic markup, which is not what we want. We want a count tool. So the way that we would do that is you just right-click on this markup that you want to use as your count tool, and just do create count. And you'll notice that it created a new markup tool that says 1, 2, 3 at the bottom, and now this is a count tool. So if I start dropping these blue toilets onto my drawing and then go down into the markups list, you'll see that it's applying a count to it now. So it just counted 11 of those. So this is how you create a custom count tool. And from there, I could also define subjects and material costs and so on and so forth. Something else that's really cool in terms of count tool enhancements is the ability to split counts. So let's say that I decided, you know what, I've got my 11 toilets here, but I want to split off this one right here to be separated from the count. Well, it's very easy to do that. You just right-click on it, and you just do split counts. And now I just split up this one from the rest. So let's go back to the markups list so we can see that. So now we just have 10 in this group, and then this one is on its own. And you can do this with different combinations of them. So if I hold down the Shift key, I can actually select this one and this one here and split these as well. So now I've got a 2 count right here. Or 3. I guess sorry, I had one of the other ones selected. But a lot easier than before. Before, if you made a mistake counting and you wanted certain ones to be separate, you would essentially have to recreate your count markup all over again and have to start from scratch. So this is a lot easier than it used to be. Okay, so we've been kind of taking some measurements, taking some counts on this drawing, and now we kind of need a way to share this information downstream. So let's talk about a few different ways that you could do that. So the first thing that I want to do is circle back to our old friend Legends. Remember, we dropped this Legends that was not particularly interesting looking on the drawing earlier. Well, now it's a lot more interesting to look at because we have data in there, and it's pulling in the markup data from the markups list. And you can see that based on the columns that I've toggled on, it's telling me what these markups are, what the quantity is, what the unit is, and a label showing me more specifically the material types. This is particularly useful for a couple of reasons. One is that it's a quick and easy reference right on your drawing where you can just quickly see totals and what these markups mean and so forth. And secondly, it's extremely useful for anybody downstream that you send this drawing to that does not have Bluebeam Review. So let's say that they open this in another PDF application. They're not going to have the benefit of this markups list down in the bottom, so they're not going to have this at all. So a way to still give them access to some of the information down here is using legends, because they will see this legend regardless of what application they use to open the PDF. So that's very, very handy for them. So in terms of sharing information, obviously the markups list is another great way of sharing information. And in addition to being embedded within the PDF, you can also export it as a summary. So for takeoff workflows specifically, it's really common to export as a CSV. That way you can open it into Excel. But the problem before was that a lot of customers were exporting to Excel, and then there was a lot of manual work involved with, cutting and pasting this data into a specific template that they needed to use to calculate their costs. So it was just extra manual work for them that we really wanted to minimize and make that process easier. And this is where we get into the next feature, which is called Quantity Link. And that's the one that does the live syncing between the markups list and the Excel spreadsheet. So once again, I've been kind of cheating ahead of time. I already had an Excel document open in the background. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And you can see that it's already been populating in the measurements from this drawing that we were looking at. So you can see 841 square feet of concrete. That matches our Excel spreadsheet right here. 65 square feet of carpet. That matches our Excel spreadsheet right here. So it's live syncing that data back and forth. So you'll notice that one of these cells is blank. I actually left this blank so that I can show you how I even link these two documents together. So the way that you link a Excel document to a PDF drawing, it's pretty easy. So within Excel, what you're going to do is you're going to right-click on the cell where you want that data to be, and there will be an option right there for Quantity Link. And I'm just going to say Create. And essentially, I just need to set up the filters for the specific type of data that I want to pull into the cell. So in this case, it's tile type 1 in its area measurement. So I'm going to say look for area measurements where the label is tile type 1. And then I'm just going to say OK. And there's my data right there. So 85 square feet. And sure enough, that matches what's on the drawing as well. Let's add another markup onto this drawing so that you can watch this Excel spreadsheet and watch it update. So I'm just going to drop another concrete 1 markup on there and watch this total right here. So boom, there you go. So it just updated concrete 1 to account for this additional markup on there. And if I delete it, vice versa, it's going to update this as well. So tremendously helpful for syncing data into the proper templates. But a question you may be wondering is, well, I have this one template. I want to use it on lots of different PDFs. How do I make this template point to a different PDF? Well, let's take a look at that real quick. And to illustrate, let me open up this exact same drawing, but with different markups on it. So this one right here, it's the same drawing. This one has a lot more different measurements on there. If I look in the markups list, you can see a whole bunch of stuff on there. So let's set up this Excel spreadsheet to point to this one instead. And the way that I'm going to do that is, again, right-click on the Excel document. And in this case, I'm going to go to Source Files. And let's remove that one that we started with. This was the first one that we were working on. And instead, let's add this one, the second one, with tons of stuff on it. And say OK. And now you can see that all of these totals have auto-updated accordingly. Let's see if we have a legend on this one that we can reference. Is there? No? Let's create one real quick, shall we? There we go. So let's compare it to this legend right here. Oh, we need to turn on our labels. Sorry, I'm clicking all over the place here. Got a small window to work with. Edit columns. Where's that label? There it is. Okay. I know what it is. I don't think this drawing is calibrated. It sure isn't. Let's go back to our totals. Open that back up. Did I calibrate it wrong? No? I'm not sure why those totals are off. But anyways, regardless, that's how you change the background file there is just right-clicking on it, quantity link, source files, and you can change your source files right there on the Excel spreadsheet. So. Okay, so let's switch gears here. We've been talking about takeoffs a lot. Let's switch gears to some of those automation tools and go over that instead. Let me just kind of maximize this. And first thing I want to touch on is that auto form creation. So let's open up an example of a form there. And so this is a form that was just created, I believe, in Microsoft Word and exported to PDF. And currently, there's no form fields. I can't just click on these fields and just be able to type in information. So historically, the way that you would turn this into a fillable form is by placing these form fields individually. So I can place a text box right there. And now that I've placed a text box, I can just type something right in there. But this is a pretty manual process, especially if you've got a form with lots of fields on it, like this one. That's kind of a hassle, and we don't really want to do that. So let's automate this a little bit. So what I'm going to do instead is, if I go to Form here at the top, and then do Auto Create, it's going to create all these form fields for me. So now all these form fields are dropped right on there, and you'll see that it was even smart enough to name them appropriately based off of the text on the actual document. So most of these were just text fields, but this one was actually a signature field, and it was smart enough to actually place a digital signature field on there as well. It does also support checkboxes if you have checkboxes on your drawing. This particular example didn't have any checkboxes on it, but it does support that as well. So really sort of makes the process of creating form fields much easier. And if you send this fillable PDF form to anybody, regardless of whether they have Bluebeam, they're still going to be able to fill it out, even with Adobe Reader as an example. Okay. So the next one that I want to hit on is batch sign and seal. So batch sign and seal is the feature that allows you to digitally sign and stamp large quantities of PDFs in one kind of automated process. So let's kind of run through what that looks like. So let's go ahead and close this one we're just looking at. And what I'm going to do is go to File, Batch, and Sign and Seal. And from here, all I need to do is just add the files that I want. So I can add a folder, or I can add specific files. So I'm going to just use all of these PDFs here as my example. So I've got 6 different PDFs that I'd like to sign and stamp. And something tricky about these particular PDFs is they have different sheet sizes. So I've got 3 different sheet sizes that I'm working with. So what I need to do is basically define for each of these sheet sizes where I would like the digital signature to be and where I would like the stamp to be. So firstly, let's load in my digital signature. And if I want to say a reason why I'm signing it, I can do that if I prefer. And then let's select my stamp. I'm just going to use a generic kind of approved stamp. And you can see a preview of what the document looks like here. I've got my stamp and my signature here, so I just need to click and drag and place them where I would like them on the page. Let me zoom in a little bit. To actually make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to grab. There we go. Actually, let's put this right there. Okay, so I just defined where my signature and stamp are for this sheet size. I just need to do it for the other ones. So let's switch to this 8.5 by 11. Let's say that I want it down here. Let's make it smaller. The signature right here, let's make that smaller too. And last one, put that right there and this right there. Okay, so I just defined where I want it on each sheet size. Let's go ahead and run it. So I just did that for the 7 documents there. Let's open them up and see what it looks like. Okay, so now I've got that digital signature that I placed on the drawing right there, and then I think I put the stamp down here. Yes, there's that stamp that I put right there. And let's open up a different size one. This is the middle. Same thing. There's my stamp, or excuse me, there's my signature, and there's my stamp. So much faster for signing and stamping large quantities of documents there. Okay, so let's move along to visualization tools, and let's check out 360-degree photos. So got a good example that I can use for that here. Where is that? Here we go. So on this drawing, we've actually placed a text markup, and within that text markup, you can see that little capture symbol denoting that there's an image that's stored within that markup. So just like before, I'm going to click on it to open that image, but the difference is this one is a 360-degree photo. You can see that by the icon there. And now I can click and drag and kind of rotate around here and check out this photo of the job site. So like I said, super useful for documenting site conditions. If you wanted to take a 360-degree photo of what it looks like from that specific spot in the building, you can just take that and embed it right on the PDF so anybody can check it out. So very cool stuff. I believe we've got 7 or 8 different cameras that we officially support at this point in time. We're continuing to expand that and add support for more and more cameras. If you go to our website, our support page, it'll list all the specific cameras that we support as of today. The next thing we're going to move on to is 3D PDFs and some of the enhancements around there. Let me open a 3D PDF for us to work with. So right here I've got a terminal building, and it's just loading the model right now. So there it is. Here's our terminal building. I believe this model was created in Revit, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to show you a couple of cool things that we've added to 3D PDFs. So let's jump to the 3D model tree. Actually, I'm going to move this to the bottom tab because I think it's a little easier to work with down there. So I'm going to click and drag it down here. And you'll notice the model tree, it looks almost like the markups list, the way that it's laid out, where you can kind of click the different elements and you've got these different columns. First thing I want to show you is the ability to change this metadata. So where it says exterior shell, I can actually just double click on it and change this if I want. So I can say this is interior shell, for example, and change that. In previous versions, you could not change this metadata like that. Something else that's really cool that you can do is you can actually search through the elements. So if I wanted to quickly search for all of the windows, I can just run a search for windows and find all those windows there in the search results. And if we look at the model, let me drag this out a little bit, it's going to make everything else sort of transparent so that you can quickly and easily spot those windows on there. So very cool stuff there. Another new thing that I'd like to show you is the ability to change the coloration of some of the elements. This was a common request for customers wanting to color code different phases of a project or maybe different types of pipes or ducting and so on and so forth. So now you can do that. And the way that you do that is you select the elements in the model. And right here in the markups list, you can just change the color. So I'm going to make this a really obnoxious neon green. And then let's grab the roof and let's make this an equally obnoxious bright red. So there we go. We've got different colorations there. So you can color code this however you would like. So very handy for anyone working with 3D PDFs. And the last thing I want to hit on here is the ability to export this 3D element data just like you do markups in the markups list. So if I actually go to summary, I can export all of this element data to CSV just like markups. So very useful if you need to export that info. So that's pretty much it. That is all the new stuff in Review 2017. So hopefully you enjoyed going through the new stuff and you're as excited about the new version as I am. Just to kind of tie off here, I just want to take a moment to plug our upcoming user conference, the Bluebeam Extreme Conference, which is going to be August 14th through the 16th. It's going to be in Los Angeles at the JW Marriott at the LA Live. And registration opens in a few days on April 4th. I would highly encourage you to go. It's an awesome conference. It's really heavily focused on training. There's a lot of training, a lot of customer sessions where our customers come in, give presentations about their real-world projects and how they personally used Revu to its maximum benefit to save them time and save money. So it's a great way to learn kind of industry best practices from your peers. So highly encourage you to sign up. Lastly, before we jump into Q&A, I just want to take another moment to thank all of you for your time, for dialing into this webinar and going through the new stuff with me today. And I also want to thank our partner CAD-1 for hosting this webinar. If you would like to upgrade to Review 2017 or download a trial, or if you have any other needs, you can reach out to your friendly CAD-1 rep, whoever that may be. Or if you're not sure who your rep is, you can give CAD-1 a call at the number on the screen, or just send them an email, and they'd be happy to set you up with whatever you need. So with that, we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to jump to the questions window, try and answer some questions. I do have a little bit of extra time, so I can go a little bit past the hour if folks want to stay on longer and ask me questions. So let's take a look at what we've got in the questions window, shall we? So first question, will a recording of this presentation be available later? Yes, so I did record this webinar and I'll be sending a recording over to the CAD-1 folks. So they'll have a recording for you. You can just reach out to them if you'd like to see the recording later on. First question, going back to when I showed a profile being attached to a PDF drawing, just how did I accomplish that? Let's take a look at that real quick. So let's go back to, let me close all this stuff going on here. Let's go back to that one that we started with. So this particular drawing had that profile embedded on there. So the way that we do that is actually there's an attachment button, and you basically just select the particular file that you would like to attach, and then from there you can attach it on there. Let me give you let's do a better example of that. Let me find a profile. I'm going to export this profile to my desktop so that I can attach it on there as an example. And then let's attach that there. So there's that profile, that tablet profile. So I'm just going to select where I want to drop it on there. So there's that file attachment right there. And when I have that file attachment selected, if I just go to my preferences, I can change the icon that shows there. So if I change it to file icon, it's going to show that profile icon right there. And if I want to show the file name, I can do that as well. So that's how we accomplished embedding that profile within that PDF. So great question. Let's see what else we got here. Question, so going back to visual search, can you set up visual search to only look at a single page instead of the entire PDF document? Let's take a look at that. To be honest, I'm not sure that I've ever done that before, but let me open a multi-page PDF so that we have a good example that we can use for that. Here we go. Here's a multi-page PDF. And let's do a visual search on something. I guess it doesn't particularly matter what we visually search, but let's do a visual search on this right here. So these are the options for what we can search in. So yes, it looks like you can search for only the current page. So you would just want to adjust the settings in this drop down to only search in the current page rather than current document, which is the default. That'll search all the pages. You can also search for all open documents or entire folders of documents as well. Let's see what else we have in terms of questions. Is there any way to change the dynamic fill boundary line to be the center of the line rather than the outside of the line? I do not believe so. I believe that it will only go to the outside of the line, but let's take a look at the settings and let's double check that, shall we? Let's go to Measure, Dynamic Fill, and Settings. Got edge sensitivity here. I don't believe so. I think it's always going to be the outside of the line. Yeah, I believe it's the outside of the line. Good question though. Okay, I'm just looking through some of the questions here. Is there a way to adjust the size of when you're kind of sealing off an area? Can you adjust the size of that line? I believe so. I think that's this boundary size one. Let's crank that down, shall we? So let's see what happens when there we go. This is it. The boundary size is going to change the size of that line for kind of sealing off an area. That's what you want to adjust right here to the boundary size. Okay. There's another question. Can you show auto form field creation again? Absolutely. Let's do that again. So let me jump to that RFI template. So here's that form that we used right there. So all you need to do is go to Form, and then there's a button for Auto Create. And all you do is click that button, and boom, there you go. There's all your form fields. So one sort of caveat to this is that this is going to work much better with forms that were created digitally. What I mean by that is, if you printed a PDF from like Word or Excel or PowerPoint or something like that, where it's selectable text, that's going to work much better. If you are working with a form that was printed to paper and then scanned in as a raster PDF, you can still do it. If you run OCR and make the text selectable, you can still use this auto form creation, but I will be honest, it's not going to work as well or be as accurate. It's going to depend a lot on the quality of the PDF, how high the resolution PDF is, the quality of the print, the quality of the scan. There's a lot of variables. So if at all possible, you want to create these digitally. That way it's a vector PDF. You can see this text is very sharp. Even if I zoom in super close, it's very sharp. It's selectable. This is going to work much better for that form creation. Question here, can you demo the checkbox functionality for auto form creation? Unfortunately, I don't have an example with a checkbox on my hard drive to show you, but kind of creating a checkbox outside of the auto form creation, it's just one of these options right here. You can just create a checkbox wherever you'd like there and got it right there. But unfortunately, I don't have a good example kind of teed up, ready to go for the auto form creation. Question: When you're accounting for rise drop, is it only a straight vertical drop? Yes. So it's only a straight drop. So if you have sort of an angled drop, unfortunately, it would not account for that. It would only be straight up and down. Good question, though. Okay. Don't see any other questions coming in. All right, folks, I think that's our cue. No more questions. So thanks again, everyone, for your time. I'm going to send this recording over to the CAD-1 folks so they'll have it. hope you all enjoyed the presentation and have a great day. Thanks.